I got this box a few months ago and I was really excited to open it and get going on this project early this summer, but then we got derailed by the keel. So I put it on the back burner and finally I get to open it. This is another extremely exciting project that we're gonna dive into. So let's see what's in here. Get ready. Okay, some of you may know what this is. This is a pedestal. So we have two of these. Edson, who is kind of the standard, I think, in steering systems for sailboats. They sponsored us a long time ago. They agreed to get on board and they sent us two pedestals, and I'm gonna open the other package. Aha! And they sent us two brand new steering wheels. This is obviously extremely exciting. I can't wait to see how these look on the boat. The plan this week is to fit the rudders to the boat. I've never put the rudders in the boat before. And we're going to fit these pedestals and steering wheels in. That way I can see how the parts are coming together so that we can design the rest of the steering system and get that project going. So it'll be a very exciting week of work. Pretty cool. Ready?
Ready.
We're gonna take these up to the boat, into the cockpit, and mark out. I gotta figure out where exactly they're going to be placed. And we're looking to see how they look. You can imagine how exciting this is to start placing items like this into the boat. The steering system is obviously an extremely important system in the boat. We need it to be very robust. And given that we have two wheels, two rudders, we also need it to be very redundant, such that we can take advantage of the fact that we have multiples of each, and if we were to lose one rudder or wheel, the system will still work. The first thing I'm going to do is start placing these pedestals and rudders in the most advantageous position. We want there to be the most room between the two wheels. I actually opted for the bigger wheel than we've been talking about in the past, and which means that I'm going to push the pedestal as far outboard as possible. And it means that I'm going to actually cut a notch in the coaming so that we can push it even further outboard. I peeled back the blue Vessel Protect and cardboard that has been protecting the Permatique deck. And then a lot of time went into placing the pedestals into the correct position. They need to be far enough outboard that there is ample room to walk between the wheels. I was aiming for 24 inches, but I couldn't put them so far apart that I had to make a really big cutout in the cockpit coaming. More on that soon. They need to be equidistant from the center line and far enough aft to leave room away from the ring frame that supports the rudder loads. You'll see here I used a CAD drawing to find those positions before I started drilling any holes in the deck. I could drill the holes in the deck for the pedestal, but it couldn't be fit with the wheel until I cut a channel in the deck to make room for the wheel. As you can see, the wheel overlaps the coaming, so I had to figure out exactly where the wheel made contact, and then cut out a notch in the side deck to make room for the wheel. Once the notch was cut out, then holes in the deck could be drilled using a template I made which matches the hole pattern on the pedestal.
As you can see, once the pedestal wheel fit, I was having a lot of fun make-believing that I was sailing. Now I can't just leave a hole in the coaming for the wheel to pass through. I need to finish it by making a channel. The best way for me to do this is to splash a mold off of the coaming. I'm going to use foam to make the mold for the channel. I fit a piece to the notch and then sanded it down to be flush with the faces of the coaming. Then I cut them down to the shape I wanted and put a nice radius in the edges. I could have epoxied them, but I was impatient and wanted to keep the project moving, so instead I just used packing tape over the foam to prevent the fiberglass part from sticking to the mold.
Obviously, I like where the pedestals and the wheels have been positioned, and I've cut the slots, the notches into the coaming. And so the next thing I'd like to do is build these little channels that the wheels run in so that water can't just fall into, that compartment. So I've made these little molds, I guess you could call them. There's forms. They're going to be stuffed inside these notches. I'm going to lay glass over the top of this that will adhere itself to the foam, and then tomorrow I can pull that off and I'll have a mold that I can glass to, which will make the form or make the channel. So if that doesn't make sense, we'll show you how it's gonna happen.
The purpose of adding a foam core to this mold that I'm making is to make sure that the mold is stiff. If it's just a few layers of fiberglass, then it can bend and deform a lot easier, especially in a vacuum bag. So I really want the mold to maintain its shape so that the part will be molded accurately.
I'll be here, toiling.
You love toiling.
I'll be toiling away. all by myself.
Occasionally we get a comment along the lines of, "You'll be dead by the time this boat is done." And to those commenters, we say 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. But anyway, I think this particular project is a good example of why building Duracell takes so much longer than, say, building a house. You can buy parts off the shelf for houses. For Duracell, nearly everything has to be handmade. Luckily, as we all know by now, Matt loves toiling over fiddly projects.
I wouldn't say I love all the fiddly projects, though I did like this one. I like some of the fiddly projects. Okay, I've got my first mold ready to do the lamination for the channel. And so I've got all my glass cut out. I have faired it a little bit and put a little cove around the foam part that makes the channel. The plan is to just lay up a ton of glass onto it, vacuum bag it, and then I can move on to the next one. So I'm just going to do a bunch more layers on this, make it nice and sturdy, and then put it in a vacuum bag. All right, so I've got this thing all sanded and prepped. This is the starboard side channel. The notch, I ground all the way around it, so I made this recess so that when this thing fits in, the flange is super flush to what's already there so that there's as little fairing as possible that needs to be done. So right now what I'm going to do is glue it in, and I'm just going to use my Thixo Fast Cure to glue this thing in. It'll make this a really quick project, and then tomorrow I can come back and do a little bit of roughing up, and then just put some fairing over it, and maybe by the end of the day we can actually fair this thing in. Now we don't want the pedestals to be mounted to the permateak, so I've actually scored around the permateak, and where the pedestal is going to be mounted, I'm going to pull it up. So we'll just have the deck that it'll be mounted to.
Ready.
Helmsley.
Yes, I'm digging a pretty deep hole under the boat. Maybe you can guess why.
Four feet.
It's
I exaggerated it a bit. In very rocky ground, though.
Yeah, it's very manly that you dug a 4-foot hole in our yard.
Yep. The stick is as long as the rudder is.
Uh-huh.
And so the rudder will hopefully fit down in there.
Ah.
So.
I'm actually thoroughly impressed by the depth of this hole, Matt. It's like a really deep hole you dug.
I just hope it's wide enough. I don't want to do any more digging. Okay, so I got my hole dug, and we're gonna go see if the rudder will fit in the hole, and then if we can get the rudder into the boat. Okay, my hole is looking a lot smaller.
More digging?
More digging. I've done a bunch more digging just to make my hole wider. I've actually got the rudder in there and it's started going in up through the hole. I'm just gonna try and shimmy it up in. The hardest part about this is that there's nothing to keep it from falling out. The nice thing is that it's at an angle so it can kind of jam itself in a little bit. That's how I've got it right now. And so hopefully, well, we'll see what happens. I'm just trying to get it in there. Oh. Hey.
Voila.
Look at that. Voila. That's crazy. The rudder sticks up through the deck further than I thought it would, for one thing. But
Is that a problem?
no, it's not a problem. It takes up space in the deck, I would say. You just look at it. It's going to be it's going to be a tripping hazard. Is what it's going to be. I don't see another option really. I mean, unless it's something to think about.
You're not going to shorten the rudder, are you? No, don't. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Why not?
Matt,
You don't want me to take on more projects, is what you're saying?
there has to be a limit. There has to be a limit.
There's no limit. It is. I mean, that's the reason we didn't change to one rudder. Is like it's a project creep problem, and so one rudder would be nice for simplifying the system, the steering system. It would also be nice for maneuverability in tight spaces, because with twin rudders we don't get the prop wash effect where the wash coming off the propeller doesn't go straight off of the rudder. It goes between the rudders, and so it would have been nice to adjust the boat to have one rudder, but that's a big expensive project to change from two rudders to one rudder.
I'm really proud of you for not taking on that project.
Well, maybe we will in 5 years when we decide that it's just like not worth it having two rudders. It might be like that might be the case, but for now the boat is designed for two rudders, and I think we're gonna keep it that way. All right, we're in the very back of the systems room. The reason that I dug this hole to install the rudder
is because when we got the boat, it had a totally different steering system as far as how the steering wheel turned the rudders, because the old steering wheel, the old helm, was way forward. It was inside where the doghouse is now. And we're putting the helms on top of the rudders, essentially. So it has to be totally changed. The old steering system used a gearbox and long linkage rods to steer the boat. We're going to use a cable system. So that's one of the projects coming up is I'm going to be building quadrants. We got to install idlers and pulleys and the cables and make the whole thing work. And before I do any of that, I need to see what I'm dealing with here as far as mounting positions on the rudders for the quadrants, how the rudders are going to be sealed from water getting in. I got a bunch of parts with the boat that supposedly seal up the rudders from both the deck side and the hull side. Since we've had the boat, I've never put the rudders in. We've always had the rudders have always been separate from the boat, so it's pretty cool to see one go in. You may have noticed too, I actually put the wrong rudder in. It even says port rudder on it, and I totally just put the wrong one in, but it's totally fine for what I'm doing, figuring out the steering system. I was just telling Jan, it gives me half a mind to dig the other hole so we can see it with both rudders and both wheels on. It'd be very cool just to see it.
No. I'm putting my foot down. No.
Maybe Chunky will want to help dig.
No. Matt, no.
All right, that's a wrap. First, we want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Edson for the pedestals and the wheels. We think they look really beautiful. There's a few things to finish here. I'm not going to prime or paint the channels for a little while because it's not warm enough outside and I don't want the epoxy to not cure correctly. And then I'm sure some people are wondering about the color of the pedestal and the wheels. Painting them is an option, and when we paint the boat, we, absolutely could change the color of those things, but we haven't decided yet. So thank you again so much for watching. Thank you again to Edson. We'll see you next week.
Vroom, 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 vroom.